Hi everybody, this is a demo of the game Small Ball. This is part of the Game Crafters One Card Challenge, which is a challenge that they are sponsoring for game creators to create games that can be played all on just one single poker-sized card. It can be double-sided. I have my rules back here, but I aimed to create a baseball game that could be played on a card. The only thing that you really need is 1d6 and a dry erase marker, and presumably something to erase marks with a dry erase marker. This is a full baseball game. It can be played by two players head to head, just as you would play a normal baseball game. There is kind of an interesting twist about this game that makes it a little bit different from a normal baseball game. Before we do that, before we talk about that, let's go through what's actually happening here on the card. So we've got the title here, Small Ball. We keep track of our innings over here. And by the way, just as a prerequisite, it is important to know the rules of baseball before you play this game. Unfortunately, because of the limits of how we could fit the rules on the back of the card, I couldn't go through the full rules of how to play baseball. So it is understood that you know a bit about how to play the game of baseball. Anyway, so these are our innings. If it's the top of the first inning, you're going to write a 1 up here. If it's the bottom of the first inning, you'll write a 1 down there. Top of the second inning, you'll write a 2. So this is how we keep track of what inning it is. As you know, a baseball game goes 9 innings, unless it's tied, in which case we go to extra innings. Over here, we're going to keep score. That's going to tell us what the score of the game is, and we will erase and update that as the score changes. These right here are our two lineups, and I'll explain why they're color-coded here in just a second. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 players in each lineup. We've got our away lineup up here and our home lineup down here. We're going to keep track of where we are in the lineup so that when an inning ends and we come back the next inning to bat, we know where we left off. Over here, we've got 4 gray boxes. This is our bench. This is where we keep our pinch hitters, and we'll talk about pinch hitters a little bit later. Each team has 2 pinch hitters that they can use once throughout the game. If the game goes into extra innings, you can reactivate one of your pinch hitters. And then over here, again, we keep the score. Down here is where we get all the results of our at-bats. As you can see, we've got rows and columns. The rows are designated by color: red, green, yellow, orange, blue, and purple. And those correspond with the batters in the lineup here. So if I'm on my first batter, I'm going to be using the red row to get my results. And the way that I sort of determined how to color these players is based on the attributes of a normal baseball team. Typically, your leadoff hitter, which is our red, is good on base. He gets on base pretty frequently. So if you look at the row for the red batter, he's got 1B, 1B, which are singles. He's got BB, which is a walk, FO, which is a flyout, GO, which is a groundout, and SO, which is a strikeout. So as compared to some of the other players on the card here, the leadoff batter has a 50% chance of getting on base. And usually your leadoff hitter is pretty good at getting on base. If I go to green, which is my next batter, he has a double, so he can actually hit a double, which is a base further than any of the results from the red player, but he's only got a double and a single, and then he's got a fly out, a ground out, and 2 strikeouts. So he doesn't get on base quite as much as the leadoff hitter. And each batter has his or her own unique attributes, going all the way down to our purple batter here, which this is small ball after all. So we're kind of modeling this after National League style baseball, which means that the pitcher is going to hit. There is no DH, or designated hitter here. So the pitcher is going to hit, and the pitcher would be signified as this purple. And you'll notice that for the purple row, only one result actually results in a hit, a single. So, and that helps you sort of strategize as far as when to pinch hit, when to bunt, when to steal, depending on who's at bat. So it creates a lot of strategy in the game when you're deciding what to do. And then these columns will tell you when you roll the die what column to look at. So say, for example, let's just choose our orange batter. Orange batter is in the 4th spot, and that's usually where we call the cleanup hitter. That's usually your best hitter, is going to bat in the fourth spot, all right, in the heart of the lineup. So if we look at the fourth spot, the orange batter, he's got 2 doubles, a walk, a fly out, a ground out, and a strikeout. So let's pretend that we're on our orange batter, and let's roll the die. So I landed on a 4, which if I look at the orange row and the 4 column, that's going to be a fly out. So my number 4 batter would fly out. So that's how that chart works. Down here at the bottom, we've got 2 rows for SB, which is a stolen base, and SAC, which is a sacrifice, be it a bunt or a just ground ball sacrifice. The SB result means that the stolen base was successful. CS means caught stealing. So you can steal a base. Any runner on first or second can steal a base. You can't steal home, but any runner on first and second can steal a base, and you would simply roll the die to figure out the results. Also, a sacrifice means that you're essentially giving up an out in favor of moving the runner over. So a result of SAC would be a successful sacrifice, which means that the batter would be out and the runners would move up. SO would be a strikeout. So the batter would not get a successful sacrifice. Here is our baseball diamond. This is where we can keep track of runners. We will draw in runners just little X's and erase them as they move around the bases. Here you keep track of your outs, 1 out, 2 out, and then when you have 3 outs, the inning is over. And then finally, down at the bottom, these are runs to be banked. And we'll talk about what it means to bank runs. But I just put 8 runs here. If you score more than 8 runs in an inning, good for you. That's usually pretty rare. So I just put 8 down here. So let's talk about what that means with the runs to be banked. The unique thing about this game that makes it different from a normal baseball game is it has a push your luck element to it. In normal baseball rules, when you reach 3 outs, the inning is over, but you keep all the runs that you scored. So say you've scored 3 runs in that inning. Once you reach 3 outs, you add 3 runs to the score and you move to the next inning. In small ball, things are a little bit different. I changed the rules slightly to make it a little bit more interesting. It is push your luck style to where you have to bank your runs before you reach 3 outs. So say you have 2 outs and you've scored 3 runs so far. I would mark 1, 2, 3 as my runs to be banked. Now, if I have 2 outs, I have a choice to make. I can either stop at 2 outs and bank those runs that I've scored, or I could go for it and try to score more runs. Here's the kicker though. If you reach 3 outs, any runs that are unbanked do not count. Now again, this is different from regular baseball. So if I have 3 runs that have scored and I have 2 outs and I decide to keep going, I decide to push my luck and I roll the die and I land on an out, I do not get those 3 runs. So the goal is to not get the 3 outs when you have runs that are to be banked. Now, again, if you want to stop and play it safe, you can stop before you reach 3 outs and you can bank all those runs. Otherwise, you cannot keep those runs. So that's the interesting twist about small ball that makes it different from regular baseball games that has a push your luck element to it. So now that I've described all of the rules and how the game works, let's go ahead and play a couple innings. I'll play as both teams and I'll try to make decisions for both teams as we go. So I'm going to move my eraser over here. I've got an eraser so that I can erase as we go on. Okay, so I'm going to start with the away team. We always start with the away team, the top of the first inning, and we've got the red batter up, which is our leadoff batter. So let's roll and see what he does. All right, we rolled a 4, which is a flyout. So that is 1 out in the inning. And what we're going to do to keep track of our batters here is after a batter bats, or when a batter is up, we're going to put a little X over him there to show that he's up. So now we've got the green batter up. He rolled a 5. That is a strikeout. So that's 2 outs. Now we're on to our yellow batter. Now, I haven't banked any runs, so even though there's 2 outs, I might as well go for it because I don't have anything to bank and I have nothing to lose. So here comes our yellow batter. And he rolls a 3, and that is a walk. So we have a runner on first base. So now we're going to get up to our cleanup batter. Again, no runs scored, so nothing to lose by batting with 2 outs. So here is our number 4 batter. And he rolls a 2, which is a double. So this runner is going to move to third. And my number 4 batter is on second. So we've got second and third with 2 outs. All right, so now we've got another yellow batter up. Let's go ahead and mark him in. So we got a little bit of a 2-out rally happening here. And he rolls a 6, which is a strikeout. So that ends the inning. No runs scored. We're going to take all those base runners off, get the outs out, and we're going to go ahead and just erase up to here. And now, my dry erase marker is a little messy. We're going to go to the bottom of the first, and we know that when we come to the next inning that we're going to start off with this green batter. Okay, so no score at this point, and we're going to start with the home team. And they're going to bat with their leadoff batter. All right, they hit a 2, and that is a single, so the leadoff batter is on. Now, just to kind of add some intrigue to the game here, I'm going to go ahead and try and steal a base with my leadoff batter. So again, 1 through 4 means that a stolen base is successful. 5 and 6 means caught stealing. So let's go ahead and roll this and see what happens. And I rolled a 2, so that is a successful stolen base. And now, with a little bit of small ball, I have a runner on second with no outs. So a good start to the inning for the home team. All right, so now we've got our green batter up, our number 2 batter. So let's see what happens. And he rolls a 1, which is a double. So that means that those runners are going to trade places. So the runner, the hitter, is going to go to second, and the runner is going to score. So we won't change anything here, but we have scored 1 run. So we have 1 run that is currently unbanked. We have no outs. So there's not any huge threat to lose that run because we're not going to get 3 outs in 1 play. So let's go ahead and keep adding, and we're going to go to our yellow batter here, and let's see what happens. Yellow batter rolls a 2, which is a single, so he's going to go to first, and our runner on second is going to move to third. So we have first and third, still no outs, and our orange batter is now up. And he rolls a 5, and that is a ground out. Now, when you have a runner on first and you hit into a ground out, that means that it's going to they're going to turn a double play, which means both the runner on first and the batter are out. But the runner on third does advance. So here's what happens. The runner on first and batter are out, so there are 2 outs, but the runner on third scores, so we now have 2 runs scored. So I have a decision to make now. I am on my yellow batter now, and I could continue to bat and try to score more runs, but remember that I have 2 outs, and if I were to get a 3rd out, I would lose both of those runs. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to stop, and I'm going to bank those runs. So it is now 2-0. I have 2 runs, and I'm going to stop and end there. So I will erase all of that. I'm going to start with my yellow batter next inning. So overall, successful inning. And let's go ahead and play 1 more inning. It's currently 2-0. We're on the away team now, and we're going to go to the top of the 2nd inning. Kind of making a mess on this white table with my eraser. The eraser that I have is kind of messy. I would definitely suggest just getting a dry erase marker that has its own little eraser. If I could go back in time, I would do that because I'm making a mess with my other eraser. Okay, top of the 2nd, and we are on our green batter now. And we need to score some runs because the away team is losing 2-0. My green batter hits a 1, which is a double, so a leadoff double, great. So now let's try something here. Let's use the other strategy we have to our advantage, and that is the sacrifice. So I'm coming up to the bottom part of the order, my blue and purple batters, which they don't get on base quite as much as the middle of the order or even the top of the order. So I might have to start thinking a little bit more strategically. So what I'm going to try to do here is I'm going to try to sacrifice. So my blue batter's up. And again, what a sacrifice means is you are going to trade an out for advancing the runner over. So I'm going to roll the die. If I roll a 1 through 4, the runner advances and the batter is out. So let's go ahead and give that a shot. All right, I rolled a 2, which is a successful sacrifice. So the runner is going to go to third, and the batter will be out. So you might be wondering yourself, what's the advantage of doing a sacrifice over a stolen base? Well, if you successfully sacrifice, the runner advances and you trade it out. If you don't successfully sacrifice, the batter strikes out, you have 1 out, but your runner remains on second. If you were to try to steal a base and you were unsuccessful, that runner on second would be out and he'd be completely off the base paths. So this is sacrifice is a slightly safer way to go because that runner on second is not going to be taken off the base paths entirely. Again, if you were to unsuccessfully sacrifice, the runner would stay on second. If you were to unsuccessfully steal a base, that runner would be off the bases altogether. So you have to kind of decide which situation works best for you. So I've successfully sacrificed, and I have a runner on third with 1 out, and I've got my next blue batter up. So let's go ahead and see if we can knock in this run. And he rolls a 4, which on the blue die is a ground out. So in this case, the runner does score on a ground out. So he successfully, even though it's an out, he does successfully score the runner. So the runner scores, and we're going to mark this as a banked run. So I have 2 outs now and my purple batter up. Now, as we know, the purple batter is supposed to represent the pitcher, and the pitcher is not a very good hitter. I've got 2 outs and I've got a run scored. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop and I'm going to bank that run. So the score is now 2-1, and we're going to end this inning. We'll go here, erase those, and we're going to go to the bottom of the second. Okay, so we got a good game going on here. It's 2-1, and we'll go ahead and bat in the bottom of the second inning. And I'm going to go ahead and try and use some of our pinch hitters. Now, in a normal game, you probably wouldn't use a pinch hitter off the bench until much later in the game, but I'm going to go ahead and use him. So, well, let me just talk about him here. The first one is PW, and what PW means is power. So this is a power bat off the bench. And what that means is if the batter gets a hit, well, let me go backwards a little bit. So if I decide I wanted to use, if I'm on my yellow batter and I decide I want to replace my yellow batter with a power pinch hitter, I'm going to cross this guy out. And what that means is I can no longer use that pinch hitter for the rest of the game. Now, again, if we go into extra innings, the game is tied, we go into extras, I can reactivate one of my bench players. But ideally, you want to try to use both your bench players, both your pinch hitters before the end of the game. So I'm going to go ahead and use my power pinch hitter for my yellow batter. And what that means is I'm still going to roll for the yellow batter. But if I get a hit with my yellow batter, it's going to, I'm going to add 2 bases to that hit. So what that means is for my yellow batter, if I were to roll a 2, a single would become a triple. And if I were to roll a 1 with my yellow batter, that would be a home run. And this is the only opportunity you have to hit a home run in small ball. After all, this is small ball, and the idea of small ball is that there's not a lot of power hitting happening. It's you are creating offense based on moving runners over bit by bit. But if you decide to use your power pinch hitter, there is an opportunity to hit a home run on a double. Okay, so let's go ahead and just try it and see what happens. Whoops, let's do that again. Well, I rolled a 5, so that was a ground out. So that's the risk you take with using your bench players, is that sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. Okay, so we're on to our green batter. And just to show you all of the bench players, let's go ahead and use the other pinch hitter on the bench, which is OB, and that stands for on base. And what that means is you're still going to roll for whichever batter is up, and that is the green batter. But if I land on a strikeout, which in this case on the green batter is 5 and 6, that strikeout becomes a single. So my chances of getting on base are much increased. Right now with the green batter, I have a 2 out of 6 or 1 out of 3 chance of getting on base. But if I decide to use the on-base pinch hitter, those strikeouts become singles, and now I have a 4 out of 6 or 2 out of 3 chance of getting on base or getting a single. So I particularly like to use my on-base pinch hitter when I get down to the bottom of the order, maybe on the pitcher who has 4 different out results. So, or actually 5 different out results. But the pitcher also has, the purple batter also has 3 strikeouts. So all 3 of those strikeouts will become singles. So it's up to you to decide when the best time to use that pinch hitter is. So let's go ahead and roll the die and see what happens. Okay, I rolled a 3 for my green batter, which is a fly out. It's not a strikeout, so it is still an out. So both of my pinch hitters from the bench didn't quite work out this time, but you never know. Next time it might come in handy. Now, again, I've used my pinch hitters. I can't use them for the rest of the game. But again, if the game is tied, I can reactivate just one of them. Okay, so we've got 2 outs, and we're on our blue batter. Let's go ahead and roll for him. He rolls a 1, which is a single, so we've got a runner on first. And we've got another blue batter up. So let's go ahead and just roll for him again. We have 2 outs. And he rolls a 5, which is a strikeout. So that will end the inning. And the score after 2 innings is 2-1 home team. So that is a demo of how to play small ball. Again, all of those rules are on the back of the card. So you can go through all those rules and review everything that I talked about here. And again, this is part of the Game Crafters 1 card challenge. And I hope you like the game.